Yeah, I actually think that XRP will probably double what Solana did in its
Wow.
first week. And
Get ready, because this isn't just hype. The XRP ETF could double what Solana did. If you're watching this, smash that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because we're diving into a saga that could reshape altcoin investing as we know it. Picture this: the world of crypto is on its feet. The big names like Bitcoin and Ethereum have already had their moment with spot ETFs, institutional flows, headlines. But now comes the underdog, the challenger, XRP. And when a guy like Stephen McClurg says the upcoming ETF will probably double what Solana did, it sends shivers. Chat, are you hearing this? Because we're not in normal altcoin news, we're standing at the edge of what could be a seismic shift. Let's set the stage. Remember how Solana's ETF debut made waves? How institutional eyes opened up, money started flowing, headlines lit up? Well, McClurg's claim isn't just ambitious, it's loud. And when it comes from the CEO of Canary Capital, a firm actively pushing crypto ETFs, it demands attention. Here's how the story breaks. Canary Capital files a Form 8A with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) for a spot XRP ETF under ticker XRPC. McClurg publicly states that this ETF will probably double what Solana did in its first week. Markets respond. XRP price rises, trading volume picks up. So yeah, this isn't speculation anymore. This is real. Drop in the comments, would you buy XRP if this ETF launches and delivers on that prediction? Now let's walk through why McClurg is making this bold call and how the pieces might actually fall into place.
First off, what makes XRP different? McClurg argues that XRP isn't just another altcoin chasing speculative utility, it's built as payments infrastructure. He says the XRPL or XRPL is lining up to compete with legacy systems, not just ride the crypto wave. He points out that typical staking tokens have their model: invest, stake, yield. But XRP is positioned as financial rails, cross-border payments, remittance, built for real-world money flow. And when you tie a regulated ETF product into that token, you may capture different flows than purely speculative altcoins. Here's the kicker. McClurg expects huge inflows. Reports say he's targeting $10 billion in flows in the first month. So when he says double what Solana did, he's anchoring that to his inflow expectation, to his thesis of demand, to the positioning of the asset. Let's zoom out. What did Solana's ETF actually do? When Solana launched its product, there were large inflows, high headlines, the ecosystem lit up. I won't list every stat here, we're focused on what could happen, because XRP's moment may be even bigger. McClurg's logic chain. XRP is more than a token, it's utility plus rails. A regulated ETF gives access to mainstream capital, not just crypto natives. If you combine that with real-world use case and narrative momentum, you get a bigger lever than before. Chat, does that add up in your mind? Feels like a rocket strapped to a rocket. But let's pause for a second and break down the mechanics of how this could play out, because a prediction is only as strong as the pathway to execution. Mechanism 1. ETF listing and accessibility. Canary's filing signals the ETF is ready. The ticker XRPC will offer brokerage account exposure to XRP without actually holding tokens directly by investors. That opens access to traditional finance. When accessibility increases, more capital flows. When more capital flows, price action and ecosystem attention follow. Mechanism 2. Institutional capital and demand. Traditional investors often avoid direct crypto exposure due to custody, regulation risk, compliance. An ETF bypasses many of those hurdles. McClurg expects that opening to flood in. He's also throwing big numbers on the table, $10 billion plus, to show how serious this could be. When you compare that to past alt ETF inflows, the scale McClurg claims is monstrous. Mechanism 3. Real-world use case narrative. XRP isn't seen purely as DeFi tokens. Its ledger works across borders, remittances, settlement speed, minimal friction. McClurg leans into that. He argues institutional capital sees the rails potential. If the narrative shifts from just another coin to financial infrastructure, the market plays differently. Mechanism 4. Market psychology and narrative momentum. Crypto runs on stories as much as utility. The bigger the story, the more retail and institutional FOMO kicks in. Solana's ETF had the story. If XRP's story surpasses it, you get amplified effects. McClurg's statement itself is part of this narrative engine. So yeah, his prediction isn't pulled out of thin air, it's anchored in these building blocks. But, and this is important, predictions are comfortable until reality hits variables. Which brings me to the risks and caveats, because with megawatt predictions come megawatt risk. Risk point 1, regulatory timing and structure. Yes, the filing is in, but approvals, trading commencement, mechanics of the fund, all are subject to regulatory clearance, exchange listing, investor confidence, and macro factors. Filing does not equal full product until everything falls into place. Risk point 2. Inflow assumptions may not meet expectations. McClurg says $10 billion plus might flow in month 1. That's huge. But what if only a fraction comes in? Then the double Solana outcome falls flat. Chat, how much risk are you comfortable with if Santa doesn't bring the whole present? Risk point 3, competition and market dynamics. Other coins, other ETFs, other asset managers are racing. If the spotlight splits, capital may fragment. If regulation changes, cost structures shift, or macro shocks strike, everything adjusts. Risk point 4, narrative versus reality gap. Story sells, but if the real-world usage, network growth, adoption metrics don't follow the hype, the asset may ride down. XRP needs more than promise. It needs execution, activity, growth. Now, let's peer into the potential upside, because if McClurg is right, and yes, I know if is doing a lot of heavy lifting, this could be a standout moment in crypto. Imagine this. The XRP ETF launches, accessible via major brokerage platforms. Institutions allocate a portion of traditional portfolios to XRP via the fund, retail catches wind, news outlets pick up the double Solana claim, flows accelerate, XRP's ecosystem benefits, XRPL activity picks up, use cases outside speculative trading grow, partnerships expand, price reacts, ecosystem wins, whole new cycle begins. Chat. Imagine your portfolio if you're early in that shift. On a macro scale, the altcoin class gets a fresh narrative. Utility plus infrastructure plus regulated access. XRP steps from underdog into contender. The ETF premium, which was historically isolated to Bitcoin Ethereum, now jumps into new territory. Canary Capital gets early mover credit. Capital flows redefine what altcoin means in mainstream finance.
For you watching this is a setup moment. It's not the payday yet. It's the match being lit. If you play, play with awareness. Play with strategy. Know your risk, know your thesis.